And if you get a hold of this, then healing will work for you. Finances will flow for you. Everything that God has. Okay, God has at least 16 Jehovah names, which are 16 different ways that he wants to be known by his people. He wants to be known as Jehovah Jireh, the Lord who provides. He wants to be known as Jehovah Rapha, the Lord who heals. He wants to be known as Jehovah Shalom, the God who is our peace. All of these names, those are all characteristics of his nature. And he tells us that we become partakers of his divine nature as we take the promises of God and bring them to pass in our life. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about that divine nature that you have in you, in the sense that of who you are in Christ and what he is in you. Now, what I'm sharing with you is why. Now, I've been teaching healing a long time, and then one day I was driving from Texas through Idaho up to Oregon, and I asked the Lord, I said, why does the healing teaching work so well? I know it's a strange question. But I said, why does it work so well? It's so easy and for people to get a hold of it. I said, why does it work so well? And instantly, he started downloading, as most people would say, what I now have in the teaching on the new man. Why? Because this is what Smith Wigglesworth knew. This is what John Lake knew. Everybody that has walked in miracles consistently. Now, there's times when there's a gift. The gift of working miracles, the gifts of healings. And those are gifts, and those are manifestations of the Spirit of God, but they're like bursts of power, and they're not always constant in that sense. Now, the reason being, the thing to notice is this. The only place we are told about the gifts of the Spirit is in the letter to the Corinthians, which, surprisingly, was also the most carnal church. Why? Why did the most carnal church? Because Paul said, you don't come behind anybody when it comes to the gifts. Why was the most carnal church the most used in gifts? Why? They needed the help. There was things they didn't know what to do. And so the Spirit of God would manifest to cover that gap of what they didn't know. So gifts are primarily for areas that we don't know. Jesus didn't really walk in gifts. He walked in the fullness of the Spirit. Right. See, when you walk in the foot, okay, gifts, see, most people walk here. Let's say, most people walk here, okay? But most people don't walk in miracles. So that means miracles and walking where miracles are is kind of up here. But then you'll see every now and then somebody will have a burst, bam, a gift will operate, and then they'll go back to walking normal. That's not God's will. Jesus walked here. This is the fullness of the Spirit. Here's where he wants us to walk. He doesn't want us to have burst of power. He wants us to walk in the Spirit. I'm just as powerful in a parking lot as I am behind the pulpit. I've seen miracles in parking lot. We stood between my